So Deewar is the important film because of all these other reasons. I can't even describe all the reasons why Deewar is so important. From that film, one thing that you can wonder is that he's a worker in the dock, and then he's picked up by this Deewar, smuggler, gangster. What do you call him? Smuggler, gangster? He's actually something like that. Mafia kind of guy, yes, smuggler. He smuggled gold from Dubai. And then he's picked up from the road, he's going to to work in the morning. Deewar Saab's car comes, long swanky car, and then he's taken. And then that scene where Deewar is telling him, कि सामंत का आदमी ऐसा कर रहा है, right? So तुम ये काम कर सकते हो. Then he looks outside the window. So what does he see? He sees his mother with himself and his brother. Now he sees that. That's good enough. But we know that soon enough, Vijay is going to become totally part of the smuggling networks and all of that. And he's angry with these guys. He doesn't really love these guys or like these guys. He always maintains some kind of moral distance. If not a moral distance, some kind of a distance. He's always keeping them at a distance. He's not he knows that this money, this smuggling, this is not something to be proud of. He knows that. And yet he becomes totally part of it. And he then buys the house for his mother. He becomes totally Don, one of them. He becomes one of them. So we want to wonder, why doesn't, he's the hero of the film. The audience loves him. We all clap for him. We love his dialogues. But why don't we judge him for, going to the other side? Why don't we shame him for being part of these criminal gangs? Why do we feel kind of, good, he's giving it to these guys. So when he has this dialogues in the car, as soon as he sits in the car, then he says, "Kya tumhara naam Vijay hai?" Then what does Deewar say after that? He says yes. Then what does? No, in the car. I'm talking in the car, not that. तुम्हारा नाम विजय है बोलते हैं ना कार में बैठने के बाद. फिर Deewar क्या कहता है उसको? To which Amitabh Bachchan says कि दोस्तों का भी नाम हुआ करता है. क्या था वो exactly? मुझे अपना दोस्त समझो. Then he says, we love it, right? He thinks like. And then so many other dialogues where he's giving it. We feel very happy. But yeah, dialogue तो मार रहा है वो, अच्छा दे रहा है. But he's still part of the thing, right? So we don't judge him for that for some reason. We still love him. And even he does not fall in his own eyes. Maybe he has fallen in his own eyes, later we know, because he's doing something illegal. And his brother, the policeman, will make him feel that he's doing something illegal. But the problem is not just that it is illegal what he's doing. He is the son of a worker and a worker leader. He couldn't be partaking of this, even if it is legal. Even by becoming a legal man, he cannot be part of these kind of companies and all that, right? Given his background, given that he constantly thinks about his mother laboring there, and he constantly thinks about his father, who was evidently a left-wing working class leader. right? But nowhere does it really come and disturb our appreciation of him, uh, kind of thing. So why do you think that happens? One, of course, because all these nice dialogues he keeps, so it feels like even though he's part of it, he's still giving it to them. He's still not succumbed. It feels like somewhere he's preserved his moral standing, right? But that's not enough. So how do we understand this? Our own complicity, the audience's complicity in it. So this is one question I want you to understand. And from my notes, I can tell you that that we do not feel like he's a sellout in the movie, right? And one reason that happens, it could happen like that, with our full complicity, and we don't judge him for that, is because imagine if he had taken offense. He had said, "Oh, how can I be part of with these people? Because I have seen myself. I've been a worker. I know these people are exploiting workers. Right? He knows these are the same people." And in fact, the interesting thing is that he's picked up right when he's going to work. So he's fresh out of it. It's not even like Purana memories, bhul gaya, because those are past now, I'm a human. No, it's like fresh. Just brought directly in the worker's uniform. With his badge. Okay, and yet he immediately succumbs to the money. Immediately succumbs to the money.
So I wouldn't say that he succumbs to the money. I think his portrayal is done in such a way that the trauma caused to him as a child when people forcefully beat him up and write "Mera baap chor hai" on his hand. Plus, he's seen how goodness really doesn't get you anything. What happened to his father? He learned it the hard way that being good in this world isn't really going to get you anything. So he learned it the hard way, and that's why he chooses
the bad guy.
Bad path, yeah.
Be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And also, whenever he demanded respect from him, he obliged. When he said that you should give my money to me, my hand, where you should share your name if you are going to go. Every time he obliged, so he gave him the respect that he deserved, which he never got.
Yeah. No, he is a bad guy, all through. He throws the stone at this thing. So it's not about being the bad guy. You see, because he's learned the hard way from life that we were saying, he's been a bad guy. But now he is being the bad guy by placing himself in these smuggling networks. That's what we are trying to, this thing. We're not saying he should be a good guy. It's so boring. Why should he be a good guy? That's not the point. Point is, does violating the law means that you have to be part of these exploiting networks? Right? So he's always a bad guy, and we love him for that. He doesn't go to the temple, we love him for that. Right? But now there is a difference. What it means to be bad now changes once he joins this criminal gangs. And the criminal that in our context here is not criminal in the sense of they're violating the law, but criminal in the sense that they are part of exploiting networks. Because even being legally also you exploit, right? So in that sense one is talking about. And I think, and that's where you need to keep in mind. You want to say something?
So, he's a bad guy, but he's not shown, he is the bad guy with that with that group. But we are never shown like doing something of this kind, like disrespecting or.
That's true. At an individual level, he's good. That's right. He's good to that woman he's with. All of that is there.
Like those big people, they were asking him to when he was a small kid. So,
That's right.
more of a great character.
Huh?
More of a great character.
Yeah.
And also we know his background, so we will not feel like he's doing anything wrong. We know that
No. That's where, precisely given his background, we can say he's doing something wrong. Because how can he join these forces when he's himself a worker, when he has seen with his own eyes, experienced, वो खुद मार खाया है, अभी मार खा के आ रहा है. So he's behaving like a dog, like a cheap dog. A bone is thrown at him, he goes and picks it up. No self-respect of any kind. Only maintain some kind of a angry face. अरे उससे क्या होना? Right? So what's good? And yet we don't judge him. The interesting thing is we don't judge him for that. And why? And that is where I think you need to keep in mind that the distinction that we were making. Because you see, if you were to mind, if you were to say, I don't want to go with this. Imagine if he goes to the Deewar's house and then he says, you know, Deewar sir, आप मुझे क्या सोच के रखे हो? मैं आपका ऐसा पैसा के पीछे में भागने वाला आदमी हूँ, मैं एक मजदूर हूँ, whatever, you know, और आप लोग ऐसा करते हैं और मैं आपके साथ नहीं जाऊँगा. करके he could have walked out. If he had done that, then where is he walking back to? When you ask this question, then he would say, okay, he's going back to his workers or whatever, right? But who is that worker to whom he is going back to? And that's where we need to keep in mind the distinction we made between labor and labor power. The labor that we know of in, say, the labor as used in the theory of factors of production, the labor which in Marx we have, which he says that for which the wages are already fixed from before the production process kicks in, the labor which is the labor of the trade unions, you know, of the labor unions, the labor of that. What Marx in Grundisse talks about labor as a quantified amount of labor, objectified labor. Labor as amount of work, not the capacity of labor, not labor power. So Vijay would be going back to that kind of labor, right? But that would completely miss the point, because the money that is staring at Vijay, the money that Deewar is throwing at Vijay, the money that he will earn, of course, more money he is going to earn, right? Or money that is circulating, or the gold that is coming from Dubai. The gold that is coming from Dubai, that is at the level of consumption, right? Because that gold will come, or transistors and radios, you have it in once upon a time in Mumbai. What is coming from Dubai? Those kind of electronic items which in India those days you wouldn't get. So it's totally happening at the level of consumption, at the level of exchange of commodities that we are talking about, the commodity form, the act of exchange.
But also we have mysterious desire that people
Yeah,
created.
the act of exchange, right? So Vijay is now getting exposed to that realm, right? This thing, but this realm of money, of value. Remember, we were talking about value. Value as the social dimension, the social. Now, this value that now he's suddenly able to see, he's able to partake of it because he will do this work for Deewar and suddenly he's gonna get a share of that value directly. Right? That's what it means to be a smuggler or a criminal. You know, and the labor, which is the objectified labor, not the labor power, right? So there is a disjunction there, because that value which is coming is not coming from labor as he would have experienced as labor as a separate group of people, which is like an identitarian concept, labor as laborer. But the value which goes into the money that is being thrown into his hands is not coming from, it's coming from labor power, it is coming from socially necessary labor time. It is time which has become money. Right? So to us, to the audience, or to him, it feels like there's no connection here, Okay, those guys are, brutally exploited and all that, but this looks different, because this looks like now it's a different realm now. Right? There's no direct connection between the two at all. So when in the essay from Zizek that you saw, where you talk about the commodity form, where it is in the act of exchange. You see where he is going with the money and all smuggling networks. This is the level of consumption, right? It's the level of exchange. It's not production, it's consumption. It's like money, and money which will then which will have a corresponding claim on commodities. Right? Now that so the commodity form, in which there is no kind of, in the notion of the form that the commodity form in the, which one is talking about. One is not talking about an objectified quantity of labor producing that value. Right? It is rather the socially necessary labor time which is producing the value, one. But secondly, it is in that act of exchange that the socially necessary labor time or labor power or the capacity of labor having value gets established. Why? What happens in the act of exchange? There are two things that's happening in the act of exchange. One, and you will see that in that essay, when you are exchanging, your eye is upon the use that you can make of the commodity. Right? So your immediate consciousness is of the, okay, I'm buying this thing has this use value. Right? And then you buy it, there is an exchange going on. So that is your consciousness. But in the act of doing that exchange, you have also made it sure that two things have exchanged because they have equivalent value. Right? They have equivalent value. That's why the exchange is possible. The exchange is possible because they have equivalent value. But that equivalence that you have brought about, that real act, that exchange is an act. That equivalence that you have maintained, that you have effected, that you have brought about through your act of exchange, defines this notion of the equivalence of value. Your act has done that. But because your consciousness is not about the value equivalence, but of the useful aspects of those commodities, that's why the value equivalence part, which is the social part, which is the social part in the sense of the value which is derived from the socially necessary labor time, from abstract labor, and hence from total social labor. In that sense, the social thing that becomes an abstraction in the act. That's why you will see we read that this abstraction in the commodity exchange is not an abstraction which is coming from thought. It's an abstraction external to thought. I mean, how can you have abstraction without thought? Isn't abstraction always about thought, about ideas, abstracting abstract, abstracting from the real? But here you have a situation where there is abstraction which is generated in the act, in an actual physiological act. Right? Now, the consciousness of the consumer of individuals in the act of exchange, that is the word that is used here in the Zizek essay, is solipsistic something. Practical solipsism. Practical solipsism, right? You're a practical solipsist. Because you focus only on the immediate कि भाई क्या यूज है इसका, इसलिए मैं खरीद रहा हूं. But the abstraction which is happening, the abstraction is where the social comes. And again, let me repeat this. Why does the social come? What does it mean that the social comes? What does it mean to say the equivalence? Equivalence is of course established. Because if the equivalence is not established, if there is no value, if only, say, we do not exchange air with, say, freely available water or something. I mean, then that exchange would have only use values. But it doesn't have value because it's not socially produced. It's not produced in that sense. So it doesn't have that value. So we are talking about that value as against the use value. So our consciousness is always working at the level of the use that the commodity is going to deliver. Whereas the equivalence that is derived from socially necessary labor time, from abstract labor, which is a part of total social labor, right? In fact, it's not even that it is from the abstract labor, socially necessary labor time that this value is derived. It is just the other way around, and that is precisely what Marx is trying to say. That it is the form which is important. So it's not like from labor you have value. No, it's from value you have the value of labor. And that's where Zizek and others are saying that for Marx, it is not about saying, oh, this is all a spectacle, this is all consumption, this is all a commodity kind of a scene here, all these things kept in these beautiful malls. We should rather talk about the real conditions of production from where the poor laborers have worked hard, and let's go into that, let's be a good Marxist. No, that's not Marx. That's not how value generation takes place. Right? Rather, it is the commodity form, the quality that the commodity acquires, which feels like it is a quality of that thing, whereas in fact it is socially derived, right? Where what is actually something which you derive as an effect of larger social relations, as a collective process of production, now appears as though it's a quality of the thing only, right? That is when we say that, that's what we call fetishistic qualities of the commodity. So the fetishistic quality of the commodity is not an extraneous thing which has no critical value. No, it has a lot of critical. It is what allows us to define the commodity form, and it is because of that. So that fetishistic powers has a connection with the abstraction in the act of exchange. Right? So that abstraction in the act of exchange, the term often uses real abstraction. It's an abstraction which is real. Now, because of all this, if that is the case, then it doesn't make sense for Vijay to go to labor, right? As in, why should he go back to labor in the labor union sense? Yeah, no, and because that labor is not the labor which is really what has produced the value embedded in that smuggled money and smuggled gold. That labor is a labor which in terms of terminology, we want to call it socially necessary labor time, blah, 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 and all of that. Capacity for labor, not labor in that theory of factors of production sense. But apart from that, the value which is there in this at the level of consumption, at the level of commodities, they have this value. That is what allows the socially necessary labor time to have value in the first place. So it's not right from then from labor to the value of the commodity, but it's we can say it's not a causal connection or something. I was about to say it runs the other way from commodity to labor. It's not like that. Rather, it's about defining that form, which means one way to put a handle to this, put a handle to this is to say that there is no kind of substrate of something solid like hard labor which backs up the entire value chain, because labor often has that sense in which we use, oh, finally it is those hard workers. Like some people say, oh, okay, this perfume is so nice and all, but you must smell the sweat of the workers and all. No, right? It's the other way around. The sweat of the workers gets valorized because you have that beautiful smell of the perfume. Right? Because normally if you are so-called Marxist, JNU Marxist, then maybe you will say this, that yes, you have to smell the sweat of the laborer in the perfume. Then you say no, but if you talk about the relationship between labor and capital in the commodity form, then maybe that's not the way to go about, dear JNU Marxist. The way to go about is to say, well, the fact that the JNU Marxist valorizes the sweat of the laborer is because, this perfume has that value, which then allows that labor, which means also that this labor is no longer the labor, that is traditionally thought of in other non-Marxist socialist ideologies, because it's become capacity for labor. So our poor Vijay, now we sympathize with him, right? Now we sympathize with him because, so what can Vijay do now? So what can Vijay do now? He is already in that domain. He is part of that, smuggling whatever network or something. Going back to the labor community is not an option, as in he can go He can go, but that will be just some kind of labor unionism. That will be the JNU Marxist approach. Right? Then again, he will go and like valorize labor. He will turn labor into another identity. Then he will fight for labor rights. But fighting for labor rights is not the same as challenging capital. So what do you want Vijay to do now? Do you want him to go and bomb these places or something? You can go and bomb them. But a lot of people do that. You can bomb these places, Or people commit suicide. Workers, they get thrown out of jobs and all, they commit suicide, they kill themselves. I think that's what happened with the Kingfisher thing. I'm talking about actual things that are happening, by the way. Because it can't go back to this, he thinks kya hai, labor rights karke kya ho? Because the network is bigger. Marx is telling you that the network is bigger, It's not that simple. Right? So if he had walked out of the offer that Deewar had given, now what does he do? He tries to then make the best of the scenario. He then takes money from both. He wants the gold also, and he wants the money from Samant. He wants, right? Right? So he does that. So what you see is that you see money, and there is a section in the Zizek this thing where he talks about money. What is money? Money is just a note, right? Just a coin. But why do we think it has value? Then of course Vijay brings in that it is stamped by the bank, blah blah blah, and all of that. There is some authority which backs it, but that is what he calls the symbolic, But you have but if you were to think of money in the sense of value, then one thing is sure from our discussion here, that this value is not coming from a quantified amount of labor, right? It is coming from, let's say, labor time. So time becomes very important here. Okay, do you know the importance of time? Because say there is, and this will be a little bit speculative. So you use, say, whatever raw materials, labor, this, that, and the other to produce something, and through exchange to the market, it has value. But as you know, capital is trying to use as less raw materials as possible, use as little labor as possible, basically cut down the cost of production. If you were to imagine a scenario, a theoretical scenario, in which cost of production is zero, but yet you want to generate value, then what is that at the limit, as they say, at the limit, what will still be expended? Do not want to expend anything, okay? And that's the ultimate capitalist utopia. We say that the ultimate capitalist utopia is to do away with all labor and yet generate value. That's one. But now, I'm saying let's imagine a science fiction kind of a scenario. Not just labor, raw materials, मतलब कुछ भी नहीं use करना है. बैठे बैठे कमाना है बोलते हैं ना, जब बैठे बैठे भी कमा रहे हैं हराम का पैसा या जो भी आप बोलिए, उसमें भी कुछ ये ऐसा चीज है जो will still be expended, which is not in your hands, which is not in anybody's hands. Time, yes. Time, time. So time, in that sense, it feels like the bottom line truth of existence, of life. Ultimately, time over which humans have no control. It's like some kind of a philosophical, metaphysical truth, right? Now, capitalism is trying to approach that limit case. It has done away with labor as the work of labor, right? From there, it has kind of left it and said, okay, now we can make it more, approach the time scenario. Let's call it the time scenario, the limit case, Then said, okay, if we can use the labor power rather than be worried about how much actual amount of work we can take out, if we can have a control over the capacity for labor, then we can take out amounts of work, quantities of labor that are necessary for us, given the technology and all that, make it more capital intensive, take out more, without really violating the contract and the salary and the agreed upon hours of work, 8 hours work, right? Because you have to also give rights to workers, don't forget that, right? We know that. Rights are also there, by the way. It's not a horrific scenario for the worker. It's a nice world. It's full of rights and freedom and all that. And we're talking about a citizen who is now choosing the next government. Very empowered citizens we're talking about. Don't think these are some bichara people. Huh? Right? And then that is the device. Then, okay, capacity for labor means, okay, we can do the time thing, cut it to the bones. Maybe we can make labor as close to possible as time itself, so that time itself will become a begetter of value. That it is so, for example, in Facebook, the way Facebook makes money depending on the number of users. What the users are giving to Facebook is not really hard work, labor and all. You are not like chopping wood or something, right, when you're doing Facebook. You're giving your time. You're just giving your time, and the number of users, the more the number of users giving more time, more attention on Facebook, the more Facebook will then get money from ad companies and all, saying, look, you have so many users and so many users spend so much time and all of that. So what is happening is that time itself becomes a generator of value. So if that is the case, then obviously our Vijay is not going to see all this wealth and gold coming from Dubai and think about his workers there, because the workers' labor is labor which has undergone all these transformations into labor power, capacity of labor and all that, for us to give the value which Vijay encounters in the money of the smuggler. So there are too many steps there, right? And on top of it, it's not even that you come from the workers' labor and finally you go step by step to the value. It's not even that. Rather, it is purely at the level of consumption and the act of exchange and the real abstraction involved there, which makes possible the labor, the socially necessary labor time to produce that value. right? So you can say Vijay should just go and throw a bomb at those people, you can say that. But you can also say maybe you should prepare for a revolution, whatever that means, because you cannot just go back to the workers or just be part of this smuggling chain. So you've heard of the notion of a spectacle, giddy board. So we're talking about the spectacle really here, So Vijay spends time at that bar also, that drinking place. He spends time near the swimming pool. These are all spaces of high consumption. Swimming pool in a 5-star hotel. What kind of a space is it? It's a lifestyle space. It's a consumption space. The commodity form will now connect that space with the dock workers, right? That is the thing that Marx is able to trace in this thing. We'll come back to maybe later to Vijay's mother. Vijay's mother is not happy with the huge bungalow that the son has bought. She is not objecting to the bungalow because that bungalow stands for, one way or the other, is connected to the sweat of the workers like her husband. That's not the reason she gives. That's the reason she should be giving. That's a different matter. That's Javed Akhtar's progressive, whatever, Bollywood's progressive stance. Because they do 786 Hindu Muslim bhai bhai and they are happy they have been progressive enough. Right? Vote डाल दिया ना बस हिंदू मुस्लिम भाई भाई कर दिया, प्रोग्रेसिव बन गया, सेकुलरिज्म कर दिया, कम्युनलिज्म को अपोज कर दिया, very good, now we can do anything. Her objection to that is twofold, I think, or threefold. One, she doesn't want Vijay, being her son, to get killed or something. She doesn't like her son to mess up with the wrong guys, bad guys. Second is that she thinks he's doing something illegal. So the law comes in as a cipher, law comes as this bastard mediation, as this really, it converts everything into a stupid level. Oh, how can you do because it's illegal? As though if it was legal, it was all fine. Okay? Like surplus value is legal. Nowhere did Marx say that the problem with surplus value is that it's illegal. In fact, the entire point of Marx is that it is legal. The laborer Marx calls free laborer. The laborer is a rights endowed citizen. So it's a totally legal thing. Right? And it's not even that the legal process of extraction of surplus value can be kind of bettered, you can make certain changes in the law, blah blah blah, and make it better for the worker, like what is called redistribution policies. Give more to Kisan, give more to the farmers, give more to Dalits, give more to Muslims, give more to women, 33% reservation for women in parliament. Marx is not even saying that. Marx is not for redistribution. In fact, let me now tell you guys this thing. Marx is not even for egalitarianism. There was this recent debate between Zizek and Peterson. And Peterson says, oh, you know, the problem's with equality. How can you have equality for all? Because there are differences, people have differential capacities. Of course, people will earn different amounts. How can you have equality? What kind of thing Marx is talking about? And Zizek, unfortunately, does not really develop the point. But he just says, you know, but Marx actually is not for egalitarianism. That's a wrong understanding. And which is true. Because egalitarianism, redistribution will lead to you again back to that notion of labor, which Marx is critiquing. Because then you say, okay, who should have how much share? How much should go for capital? How much should go for this? How much should go for labor? Then that's redistribution, man. Then again, you are never entering the production process. You are never considering how value itself is generated through the process of real abstraction involved in commodity exchange. You are going to that then. You see? Right?
Doesn't a classless society de facto imply equality?
Not at all. No, not at all. In a classless society, totally can have inequality. And that's already there in Marx. So, Vijay's mother, she will not give this critique. She becomes totally lame, you know, oh beta, aisa, kanoon and all. And then the Ravi fellow also comes in, makes the scene even more pathetic. Some my police ka something. Bhai, aap jo kar rahe ho, you know. And that Ravi fellow is also the son of the same father. In fact, in that very interesting scene in which Vijay is sleeping, it's in the night, and Ravi is filling up applications for jobs. He says, क्या बोल रहे थे उसमें? वो पापा बोलते थे, है ना, जब तक सबको रहने का घर नहीं होगा, वो तब तक सुबह नहीं आएगा. तो क्या वो सब कैसे आएगा? वो पुलिस के डंडे से आएगा. In other words, and you see there is a critique of law in this entire thing, where law then interjects and displaces the basic class struggle between capital and labor and makes it into another division between what is legal and what is illegal. That's what the movie does. The movie, in that sense, an extremely reactionary movie. It's a right-wing movie. Right? But it's left-wing in the Indian sense of being, you know, secular, blah, blah, blah. You know, just put a Muslim there, you know, it's all fine then. Just put a Muslim, just put a Dalit, then it's all fine, you know. Now also put a woman there, you know. Say now in the gender sensitive variation, it will be like where the mother will say, but what is my life, you know, I also want to go on a vacation or something like that, you know. Why should I only serve? I first served my husband, I am serving the sons now. Bas ho gaya fir, you know, multiplex counter cultural experimental movie ho jayega. Anurag Kashyap can make Deewar 2 or 3, you know. खत्म कर लेते हैं. So this is one round of things that I have for you. There's another also very nice pertinent scene in that film, which is I think there's another scene slightly later on. I think when Samant के लोगों के साथ वो बात हो रहा है, or I don't know where there's a lot of bundle of notes on that glass table. And the camera is from नीचे से. अब तो देखिए वो कैमरा नीचे से. And then you think उस सीन में कुछ होगा, उसको थोड़ा याद आएगा, वो कुछ अपना मजदूर होने का याद करेगा कि ये पैसा मुझे पता है कैसे बनता है. नो मैन, he doesn't. He will not go in that direction at all. So what kind of an angry young man it is? Right? What kind of an angry young man we are talking about? Then that's what. Then it's left to the mother to be the critique. But at least she rejects it. Okay, she at least says, I'm not going to go and stay in this. She takes recourse to the law, and yet you feel, okay, that's slightly respectable. You know. So,
but then more than law, she, I think she basically tries on abstraction more than law. She says,
Yeah,
okay, my
that's right.
thing doesn't allow me to.
That's right. That's right, yeah.
So draws him on her
Yeah,
heels.
yeah, but you know, all these things, you are right, you're absolutely right. All these, things about honesty, morality, you shouldn't steal, these kind of basic values. But the interesting thing is, somehow all these basic values, as though just falls in place with the law, Why couldn't these basic values be mobilized against her younger son? Right? कि जब तेरा पापा के साथ ऐसा हो रहा था, तो तेरा कानून कहाँ था बेटा? Do we hear that from the mother? Why should it be Vijay only saying that? Poor Vijay. Vijay is also handling too much. Vijay is also handling too much. Have you guys watched the film Godfather? In Godfather, where the Michael Corleone, which is Al Pacino, wife is like saying, "You useless fellow, you gave me so much hardship and all." No, this is Godfather Part 3. Then, like, you never took care of me, you never took care of my family. Then Michael Corleone is a mafia guy, right? He's a don. But now he's become a respectable man, and he's about to give a lot of money to the Vatican. He's become that respectable. Similar with Haji Mastan also, with the Sultan Mirza. It's the same thing, right? He's also very respectable. And then the wife challenges him, saying, "You never took care of it." And then he says, "No, all my life I was fighting to save my family. You, my children, that's what I was doing." In a way, which is true, because the other dons would finish off the family. So he had to, in fact, he even ends up killing his own brother. So you can say, but would the police, would the law have defended my family if I were to give up being a don? So Vijay has those kind of things, right? Vijay does have these things, but police kya kaam ka? And he does give that, I think, inside that bungalow, where the mother shouts at him, and then Ravi comes, and then Ravi tells this thing, and also under the bridge, where मेरे पास माँ है वाला dialogue जहाँ होता है, उसमें भी Vijay does give it back, कि तुम्हारा कानून क्या करोगे? हाँ, याद है तुम लोगों को dialogue क्या था? सुनाओ तो.
Say something कि तुम्हें तो क्या मिला है, वर्दी पहन ली और एक जीप मिला है तो टेबल पे जाके कर.
हाँ.
मेरे पास गाड़ी है.
Sense of humiliation and entire loss.
Yeah, and where Vijay is saying मेरे पास गाड़ी है, बंगला है, it feels like that was an unfair dialogue these guys put through Vijay. He doesn't look like he's that low to just talk about gaadi, bangla and all. That was, I think, just a mistake on the part of the scriptwriter. Do you think from the overall character of Vijay, he would actually say that? होता? मुझे तो वो बिल्कुल वो फिट नहीं हो रहा है. I don't think he's that low. ठीक है, स्मगलर बन गया, क्या क्या हो गया, लेकिन he's not just like money and all, yeah. I mean, we have seen how he behaves with other people. जो तुम बात बोल रही थी. So that dialogue was just to demean this guy. You know, there is something going on there. So.
That was to show that your honesty is not going to earn anything to our family. Like, I have earned so much and I can give you more luxurious life and everything. Like, he was trying to show that whatever I have done, I have also got this one of those things. And you have not, like, you are doing your hard work with honesty, and like he was trying to show some this kind of thing to Ravi. He was again and again giving him the like, this is wrong on your part and you should leave this. So he was trying to make him understand that he is not completely wrong.
So then some conceptual questions that you can think about is then, if this is the character of value generation, if according to Marx we have the commodity form, we have the process of real abstraction, and then the exchange of equivalents and the generation of value, which is the social process through which the commodity is produced, even though the commodity seems to have fetishistic powers. It seems as though the commodity is not something which has got its value through the social process of production. If all of this is the case, then, and that's a problem for Vijay also, this way of value generation that Marx is talking about happens under capitalism. Is there any way to directly, sensorily experience it? Okay, we call this abstraction the real abstraction. So say the process of capital accumulation. So say the way capitalism keeps producing millions and millions of mobile phones, millions and millions of laptops, millions and millions of plastic, millions and millions of everything, even though the environment, earth is getting destroyed and we cannot stop. So definitely we don't even need to read Marx. We know there is some kind of an abstract logic at work, unstoppable. Unstoppable is going on. Marx, of course, conceptually breaks it down and shows, look, this is what goes into this accumulation, this monstrous accumulation process, which is like a blind, like you are running into danger, right? That's what humanity is doing on earth. And there's no stopping it. Then people say, oh, some very rich people are planning to kind of see if there is a destruction of the earth, then they can go into outer space, right? And have in science fiction movies you see that. The outer space may some really rich people live, and on earth all the humans will be here, you know, the higher humans will shift out. So all these things, but the question is there any way to experience this process firsthand? You know, like feudal oppression, you can, वो चांटा पड़ता है उसमें, slavery में बांध के रखता है. यहाँ तो rights भी देते हैं, freedom भी है, मजा भी है, मस्ती भी है, सब कुछ तो है. तो हम वो value generation process, where money begets money, value begets value, where money as an abstract quantity immediately territorializes another value generation mechanism. It's like you blow a bubble, करके bubble तो यहाँ से निकल रहा है ना, you know, वो बच्चों को जो देते हैं साबुन का. But my bubble goes and ऊपर जाके that bubble produces another bubble. and another bubble, another bubble. और इधर साबुन सब खत्म हो गया, उधर bubble ही bubble बने जा रहा है ना. That's the value generation process we are talking about. Then it has become a spectacle. It is going on and on. Now that's what Marx is telling, right? And there in that bubble is labor there? Yes, but now labor has capacity for labor only. Then of course, as I was telling you, we went beyond that and said, okay, but the ultimate utopia is, the only thing expended is time. Because that cannot be stopped. I think. Can we like stop time? And you can't stop time, I think. No? This is, I think, the ultimate limit. Time is God in that sense. Ultimate limit. Uske udhar kuch nahi. You can even destroy the earth, nature, and have Holocaust, have nuclear explosions. जितना भी दुनिया में हर देश का है, सब लगाओ एक साथ. सब destroy life and all. But time, what the hell is time, man? Keeps passing. So if that is the thing, so labor bhi udhar ghusa diya because now labor has become time. Labor time. Thing is that if it is an abstract process, we are not able to experience it directly. You see this Kriti? You can't experience it. So Vijay, our guy Vijay, you can't blame him. Because he experienced the tyranny of those guys, that construction guy on his mother. And he reacted to the tyranny by throwing a stone. He reacted to the tyranny of Samant's Gunde, who are जो हफ्ता उठा रहे. But this वाला tyranny क्या tyranny है भाई? So that is one question that is often raised, and we want to raise. That so can't be too unfair to Vijay, you know. So in a way, what Vijay is doing, Vijay's life is traversing this commodity form. What is Vijay doing? Vijay's life is one of traversing this commodity form. So let's go back to the notion of commodity form again after all of this. I know you guys are having a lot of, silly and not very silly, very intelligent questions, to throw at me, and Akshay is very unhappy with me today because I have blocked Akshay's tirades, I can sensorily experience the very, that kind of energy coming from Akshay. Okay, so the commodity form. So we have already kind of explained it through Deewar. Okay, and the Deewar is the wall, right? And look at this, कहाँ ले गए फिर? दो भाई के बीच में दीवार. हम बात कहीं और ले जाते, वो बोलते हैं भाई में लड़ते हैं ना, भाई भाई का लड़ाई है, कुछ नहीं है. So two brothers, it's about this thing. So, okay, yeah, yes. Okay, छोटा सा break, as in till she comes back, no other people go.